Tokyo, Japan. A rainy winter morning in 1968. A bank transport car is carrying 3 massive metal boxes filled with exactly 300 million yen in cash. Suddenly, a uniformed police officer on a white patrol motorcycle cuts them off in the pouring rain. He stops the car, his face pale with panic, and shouts,
"The branch manager's house was just blown up. We received a threat that a bomb is planted under this car."
The terrified guards freeze. The officer bravely dives under the vehicle to inspect the chassis. A second later, a blinding flash of fire erupts from beneath the engine, followed by thick, white smoke pouring into the street.
"It's going to blow! Run!"
The officer screams. The 4 guards scramble out of the car and sprint for their lives, taking cover behind concrete walls, bracing for a massive explosion. But the explosion never comes. Instead, through the thick, swirling smoke, they watch the police officer calmly get into the driver's seat of their transport car, put it in gear, and drive away into the fog with 300 million yen. He didn't have a bomb. He didn't have a gun. He just executed the most brilliant psychological heist in Japanese history. And to this day, nobody knows who he is. To pull off the perfect crime, you don't just need a good plan. You need to completely control the minds of your victims. And this mastermind understood human psychology better than anyone. The date is December 10th, 1968. The target is the Nihon Trust Bank in Kokubunji, Tokyo. In the trunk of a black Nissan Cedric bank car are metal transport boxes holding 294,307,500 yen. In today's money, accounting for inflation and the booming post-war Japanese economy, this was a staggering fortune. Millions of dollars in raw, untraceable cash. It was intended to be the holiday bonus pay for thousands of workers at a nearby Toshiba factory. But the bank employees in the car are already on edge. Their nerves have been shredded for weeks. In the days leading up to the transport, the manager of the bank had been receiving terrifying, anonymous letters. The letters threatened to kidnap his family and bomb the bank if he didn't pay a ransom. The police had been constantly patrolling the manager's house and the bank itself. The atmosphere was incredibly tense. Everyone was expecting something terrible to happen at any moment. They didn't realize it, but they were being primed. The thief was meticulously setting a psychological trap, making sure that when someone finally yelled the word bomb, the bank employees wouldn't ask questions. They would just panic. At exactly 9:20 a.m., the black Nissan Cedric is driving down a quiet, narrow street next to the towering concrete walls of the Fuchu prison. The rain is coming down in sheets. In the rearview mirror, the driver sees a white police motorcycle approaching fast, its red emergency light flashing. The motorcycle cuts in front of the Nissan, forcing the driver to hit the brakes. A police officer steps off the bike. He looks exactly like a standard Tokyo motorcycle cop. Dark blue uniform, white helmet with the police insignia, tall leather riding boots, and a white scarf wrapped around his neck to block the winter chill. He looks completely legitimate. He walks up to the driver's window. He isn't holding a weapon, but his voice is urgent and full of authority.
"There's been an explosion,"
the officer says.
"The branch manager's house was just bombed. We received a call from the bomber. He said dynamite has been planted under your car. I need to inspect the vehicle immediately."
The 4 men inside the car are horrified. The threats from the past week are instantly validated. This is exactly what they had been dreading. The psychological conditioning works flawlessly. They sit completely paralyzed while the officer drops to his knees on the wet asphalt and crawls completely underneath the heavy Nissan. For a few agonizing seconds, the bank guards sit in silence, listening to the rain hit the roof of the car. The officer is somewhere beneath them, presumably looking for a bundle of dynamite. Suddenly, there is a sharp crack. A bright orange flame shoots out from under the chassis. It is immediately followed by an overwhelming wave of thick, acrid white smoke that rapidly engulfs the entire car. The smell of burning sulfur fills the air. The officer scrambles out from under the car, coughing, waving his arms frantically.
It's gonna explode! Get out! Run! Take cover!
He screams at the top of his lungs. The 4 bank employees don't hesitate. Survival instinct takes over. They throw the doors open and sprint as fast as they can toward the thick concrete walls of the nearby prison, covering their heads and squeezing their eyes shut, waiting for the massive shockwave that will tear the car to pieces. Before we reveal exactly how this phantom thief pulled off the ultimate misdirection and escaped the biggest police manhunt in history, take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to help us uncover more of the world's most incredible true crime stories. Done? All right, let's watch the magic trick unfold. The bank employees are crouching behind the concrete wall, panting, their hearts hammering in their chests. They wait for the deafening roar of dynamite. 10 seconds pass, then 20. Instead of an explosion, they hear a totally different sound. The sound of the Nissan Cedric's engine revving, the grinding of gears, the squeal of tires on wet asphalt. They slowly peek out from behind the wall. The smoke is beginning to clear in the heavy rain. The bank car is driving away. The police officer is behind the wheel. At first, the guards are genuinely moved. They think the brave officer has decided to sacrifice his own life, driving the rigged vehicle away from them to prevent a public disaster. They actually stand there, admiring his heroism. But as the smoke completely dissipates, the horrible truth is left lying on the wet street. Underneath where the car had been parked, there is no bomb. There is only a standard commercial emergency road flare, the kind you buy at any auto parts store. The officer hadn't found a bomb. He had simply crawled under the car, struck the flare, rolled it near the exhaust pipe, and yelled, "Fire!" And then, the guards look at the police motorcycle he left behind. It isn't a police Honda, it's a civilian Yamaha painted white. The police sirens are just cheap megaphones taped to the sides. The document box on the back is a painted tin cookie box strapped down with elastic cords. It wasn't a police officer, it was a masterpiece of theatrical deception. And he just drove off with 300 million yen. When the real Tokyo police arrived, they were stunned. The heist was so clean, so meticulously executed, that it felt like a movie script. But the police were confident they would catch him quickly. Why? Because the thief had left a staggering amount of evidence behind at the crime scene. He left the fake motorcycle. He left the fake megaphone sirens. He left a magnetic map case. He even left a piece of his clothing. In total, investigators found over 120 pieces of physical evidence at the scene. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department launched the largest, most expensive investigation in the history of Japan. They assigned 170,000 police officers to the case. They distributed composite sketches of the suspect to every corner of the country. But this is where the thief proved his absolute genius. Every single piece of evidence he left behind was a dead end. The 120 items were deliberately chosen because they were mass-produced, cheap, everyday objects that could not be traced to a single individual. The hat he left behind, mass-produced. The megaphone, bought at a generic electronics store months ago. The Yamaha motorcycle, stolen 3 weeks prior and painted in a hidden garage. The thief had intentionally littered the crime scene with clues to keep the police busy chasing their own tails. It worked perfectly. Detectives spent years tracking down manufacturers, interviewing shop owners, and reviewing receipts, only to hit a brick wall every single time. Just 5 days after the heist, the massive police dragnet suddenly stopped. The lead investigators thought they had cracked the case, but the answer they found was their absolute worst nightmare. The prime suspect wasn't a seasoned Yakuza boss or an international jewel thief. He was a 19-year-old boy. But he wasn't just any teenager. He was the son of a highly respected veteran police motorcycle officer. This boy was the leader of a local street gang called the Tachikawa Group. He had an extensive juvenile record. He knew exactly how to hotwire cars. And, thanks to his father, he understood police protocols. Most importantly, he was a skilled rider who knew how to handle a motorcycle in heavy rain. He fit the psychological and physical profile of the phantom thief flawlessly. Even worse, he had no solid alibi for the morning of December 10th. The Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department was thrown into a state of absolute panic. The idea that the greatest heist in Japanese history was an inside job pulled off by the son of one of their own officers was a public relations catastrophe. Detectives prepared to bring the boy in for a grueling, high-pressure interrogation. They were completely confident that they could break him and find out where he buried the metal boxes containing the 300 million yen. But they never got the chance. On December 15th, before the detectives could officially arrest him or force a confession, the 19-year-old boy quietly purchased a lethal dose of potassium cyanide. Later that night, sitting alone in his room, he swallowed the poison and committed suicide. When the news broke, the Japanese media exploded. The headlines declared that the case was effectively closed. The public was absolutely convinced that the guilt and the terrifying pressure of the police manhunt had broken the young mastermind's mind. The money, they assumed, would be recovered shortly, but the real phantom was still out there, completely untouched. When the forensics team performed the autopsy, the perfect theory violently collapsed. The boy's blood type was A, but the saliva and sweat found inside the fake police helmet left at the crime scene belonged to someone with blood type B. The police tore the boy's life apart, looking for the money. They searched his room, his gang's hideouts, and his family's property. They found absolutely nothing. He had no connection to the heist whatsoever. He was just a deeply troubled, mentally fragile teenager who couldn't handle the crushing weight of being accused of the crime of the century. The police had chased a ghost, cornered an innocent kid, and driven him to death. The tragic suicide completely humiliated the Tokyo police force on a national level. The investigation was forced all the way back to square one, while the real thief sat comfortably in the shadows, watching them destroy themselves. The police were desperate. They reviewed an unbelievable 110,000 suspects. They analyzed fingerprints, checked alibis, and offered massive rewards. But the thief was a ghost. He had abandoned the bank car just a few miles away, transferring the heavy metal boxes into a stolen Toyota Corolla. He then drove that Corolla to another location, where he transferred the money into yet another stolen car, a Ford that he had parked there days in advance. He had created a maze of stolen cars, effectively breaking any possible visual tracking by witnesses. By the time the police found the empty black Nissan Cedric, the thief was already sitting in a safe house counting 300 million yen. The money was entirely composed of 500 yen, 1,000 yen, 5,000 yen, and 10,000 yen notes. The police had the serial numbers for 2,000 of the 10,000 yen bills. They published the numbers in newspapers, hoping someone would spot the cash in circulation. But not a single one of those marked bills was ever spent. Not one. The thief was disciplined enough to either destroy the marked bills or lock them away forever. Years turned into decades. The investigation consumed the careers of hundreds of detectives. The sheer stress of the case even led 2 police officers to take their own lives. But the clock was ticking. Under Japanese law at the time, there was a 7-year statute of limitations for the crime of robbery. On December 10, 1975, exactly 7 years after the fake police officer struck that flare under the Nissan Cedric, the criminal statute of limitations expired. In 1988, the civil liability period expired as well. This meant that the thief could walk into a police station, slam the remaining cash on the desk, confess to the entire crime on national television, and the government wouldn't be able to do a single thing to punish him. He was untouchable. Yet he never came forward. He never sought fame. He didn't brag. He simply pulled off the greatest illusion in the history of modern crime. Beat the entire Japanese police force using nothing but a flare and a fake uniform, and vanished into the rain forever.